And welcome back to the CC Football Podcast. Joined
Oh
as
my
always.
gosh,
What?
that's crazy. You guys, Clay just did the wildest intro in the world, and then we realized we weren't recording, and now he changed it and mellowed it down. You guys missed out big time. But continue.
No, I was just saying you're joining us from a remote island somewhere off the coast of Cuba.
Yeah, yeah. I'm off the right St. Kitts and Nevis, um, on vacation out here. But like we were saying before, we realized that we were not recording. Today is a very exciting what do you call it? Episode.
Episode.
Yeah. Because we're taking on one of the biggest debates in the world of football.
The
But
debate's already
before we do
settled,
that,
but okay.
yeah, Clay feels very passionately about this debate. Um, Me less so probably, but I'm always passionate about debating Clay.
Yeah,
So I'm
you
happy
like
to
debating.
take any angle that I have to. But before we get to that, I think we were just saying I just saw a notification about Kyle Walker going to Milan, which I didn't know was happening, and I was asking what your thoughts are on that.
Dude, it's sad. The best right back ever in the history of the Prem is leaving the Prem. Um
That's another debate for another day, just for the
uh
audience. Clay is, well,
dude,
I'll
I'm
let you
not I'm
give your
not
opinion. Give your opinion on Kyle
okay,
Walker.
my opinion on Kyle Walker is he is a good player on a great team. And
Mm,
he is included in many people's, possibly including me. He's included in many of their all-time Premier League 11s. And my take on that is not because of his greatness, his individual brilliance, but because of uh his team's accomplishments and that he happened to be on they're starting right back on the team that dominated the Prem for the last 10 years, right? Right? Yeah, 10 years or so. Um and so he's a product of situation, is my opinion. But that's a podcast for a different day.
yeah. But for anyone that cares, my opinion is that he is a great player who's played on a great team and 100% deserves all the accolades. He wasn't like some rando city academy guy who just happened to get the city. There was a reason he was signed to a great team. Because he was, even at that point, probably the best right back in the league already on a not great team, Tottenham, for anyone that's wondering.
Damn, Clay
Okay,
Schreier is here,
but
not
that's for
even able
another
to
day.
defend himself.
Yeah, he's not here.
So we can take shots at Tottenham all we want.
Yeah, in the comments, go crazy in the comments. Okay, so today we're, like I said, we're doing a big debate. But actually, before we do that, Clay, I know you were looking at some sporkles earlier. Did you find anything useful?
We kind of ran out
Anything
of
fun?
time. Um,
Back in the
oh, this is an
day,
interesting
and
one. Premier
mm,
League most expensive departing 11.
okay, pull it up.
I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to share it. So you guys watching on YouTube should be able to see our screens now, but we'll try to narrate along as best as possible. But here we go. Premier League most expensive departing 11 is 11 people. It lists the club left and the club joined and then the fee. So,
Okay, and we only have 3 minutes, so let's go.
all
Let's
right.
so that we don't cheat.
All right. Ready? Goalkeeper, Chelsea to Real Madrid.
It's Courtois.
Yes. Brighton to Chelsea. Left back is probably Cucurella.
Yep,
Leicester to Manchester United at center back is Maguire.
McGuire,
Southampton to Liverpool will be Van Dijk.
Van Dijk.
Brighton to Arsenal at right back. Uh, hmm.
Brighton to Arsenal. All right, keep going, keep going.
Okay, West Ham to Arsenal at center mid will be Declan Rice.
Declan. Brighton to
Brighton to
Liverpool is
Liverpool.
McAllister.
That's crazy because I think McAllister is seen as a steal. I think he was only like 40 mil, if that. Arsenal to Liverpool at center mid. That's gonna be Ox.
AIN.
Nice. Left wing, Chelsea to Real Madrid is Hazard. Hmm.
Little
Yeah, it
foreshadowing
is.
there.
Yes. Tottenham to Bayern at striker, Kane. Tottenham to Real Madrid at right wing,
That's
Bale.
Gareth Bale.
Okay, right back, Brighton to Arsenal.
Brighton to Arsenal. Why are we blinking on this? It's got
What?
to be pretty recent.
Ben White.
Oh,
Has to be Ben White.
duh.
Yeah. I just think of him as a
Duh.
center back, to be honest. Look at that. 11 out of
Um,
11. And we only needed
yeah.
half the time.
I'll
There
be
you
honest,
go.
that was pretty easy.
That was easy.
The fact that they give us the clubs made it easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but anyways, that was a good little
Good little warm
icebreaker.
up. It's a warm up.
Get the juices flowing. All right, Clay. We the audience on the edge of their seats. What are we talking about today?
Today, we are settling the debate once and for all. Who is better? Or who is, I don't know how to phrase it because
We're
we're
just
just debating
discussing
Salah versus
Salah
Hazard.
and Hazard in all aspects. You could talk about better, greater, better in prime, worse in prime, who
Yep.
you prefer to watch. We're just gonna put it all out there and
Okay.
and figure out why Clay hates Hazard.
I don't hate him. I just love Salah.
Yeah, so let's get started because this whole thing started because you um you have been increasingly over the last 6 months, maybe until recently, getting more and more agitated by what you think is disrespect to Salah in social media in lots of different aspects. And a lot of people said the same thing, that he's underrated, not fully respected. And one of those aspects is when you see comparisons of Salah and Hazard online, and more people than you would like to see. And it's to be fair, it's normally not talking about like who has had a better career or who's like overall a greater player, because obviously Hazard can't compete because his prime was so short. But it's normally questions like, oh, who would you take in their peak, or
Yeah.
who's just better, or who's just questions
Yeah.
like that. And more people pick Hazard than you would like. Is that accurate?
Well, it is
Is
accurate.
is that
I
is that
think
is that
that
what was
base
getting you agitated?
it is. It was more so it was like, okay, I think that Salah should be like, I'm not trying to disrespect Hazard at all in this conversation. I recognize that he was a little bit before my time as a football fan, and for that reason, I haven't been able to appreciate how he makes you feel when he plays, right? But I think that based off what I've seen from Salah and the statistics that back that up, that he has elevated himself beyond the Hazard debate and into a different level of legend debate that we can have a different time. But I'm not trying to say that Hazard wasn't good or wasn't skilled at all. I'm not, that's not what my argument is based off of. It's more so on the side of Salah where you look at the numbers and uh they're not even close really in terms of the numbers. Right.
Yeah, but as like so that yeah, right. So as a Premier League legend, right? I think it's hard for Salah to not be ahead of Hazard now with the numbers he's put up over the number of years with his consistency. Um, I actually don't know how many titles Hazard won off the top of my head.
I want to say
Um,
two.
yeah, so to be fair, he does still have more titles, if that's true, than Salah. M- uh, pending a potential title this year for Salah. Um, but yeah, I think like you said, if you're talking about like okay, overall
So
career.
so Hazard, sorry, Hazard has two Prems, zero Champions
Yep.
Leagues, and Salah has.
No need to be throwing that. No one asked about the Champions League.
Okay, well, I'm just saying
Trying to
that
throw in the
Salah has one Prem,
no, no, it is relevant.
one
Yeah, yeah.
Prem, one Champions League, and 80% chance he has a second.
80% chance, as we said in our last episode, which we may or may not have uploaded by this point. Um, okay. So, yeah, like
Yeah, you guys don't know.
I
We're
think
just sitting on a bank of episodes that haven't
yeah,
been
we've been
released.
pumping them out like
Yeah,
whales.
yeah.
I I agree with you that um, you know, at this point with Salah's unbelievable consistency over what is it like 8 years now?
Yeah. This is his seventh year actually at Liverpool.
Okay, 7
No,
years.
sorry, it's eighth. It's eighth year.
Yeah, I thought it was 8. His consistency over 8 years for Liverpool, and then even now at 32, what he's produced this season, I think his numbers are way above where Hazard's was even at his prime. Plus, he's done it for much longer because obviously Hazard had to move to Madrid and everything fell apart. Now, we never know what would have happened if Hazard stayed at Chelsea, in an environment where he was thriving and he was comfortable and he was comfortably the best player in the Premier League, one of the best players in the world. Just unfortunate for him that Messi and Ronaldo were a thing in his prime and not really in Salah's prime. But um, I think that I agree with you at this point that it's hard career-wise and overall for Salah to be compared with Hazard. Like you said, he's now being compared with, you're talking about Rooney and Henry and stuff like that, which, to be fair, in my opinion, unfortunately for Salah, he loses a lot of those comparisons in the Premier League just because he only has one title, um, compared to like any like Arsenal United legend. But what about going back to the question? What about if we are not talking about any of that stuff and we're just talking about in their prime, right? Or like at their peak? Who was a better footballer?
Right. And that's where the debate I think gets more contested, right?
Correct.
And the case for really the it all boils down to the case for Hazard is he was incredibly wonderful to watch and did magical things on the pitch.
Mm.
And the case
hmm
for Salah is that he might have not been as aesthetically pleasing, however, he produced results, right?
I'd like to clarify that we're not talking about his actual looks.
No, because many people
Post,
say post haircut, Mo Salah has
post,
become very attractive.
yeah, yep. Post hair transplant, haircut, all
Yeah.
the hair things.
Yes.
He's become. They're both very attractive gentlemen. We're talking about, or Clay's talking about, on the field aesthetics with the ball at their feet
hmm Yep. And
or the way they run.
and that's
Sorry.
no, sorry. That's something where I think that you do look at like even like the goal that comes to mind for me is the Salah's goal over City where he like sat down three defenders and stuff where it's not
Mhm.
as like he's not really like skating by these guys and they're just like whiffing. He's like using I guess his knowledge of the game and his his skill, but his more so he's just like dribbling past them. He's not. You're not like, oh. I mean, I was
Yeah.
doing that, but like, um,
It's
but
different.
it's different.
It's an elite level of awareness, practice, experience, and just kind of positioning and nous,
hmm
versus like a just like pure God-given magic with the feet,
Right,
if that makes any sense.
right. And you said something that was pretty interesting because we were texting about this last night. Uh, you
Mm.
said that was like Hazard makes you feel um like only a few people in the world like watching them play have. And the other person that you brought up
Yeah,
was
I probably
Messi.
said it slightly more eloquently than that.
Yeah, but I was trying to
But
remember what you said. But uh,
yeah,
basically, that only Messi and Hazard, or Hazard makes you feel like when you're watching Messi at his prime, right? And then my counter
yeah,
argument to that was that yeah, that doesn't mean to me that Hazard should be at that level, and I don't think you're advocating for that at all. But like, not only did Messi have the magic to wow you, but he also had the stats to back up like and even better stats than what Salah is producing even this year. Um,
yeah,
right.
yeah. And like you said, obviously you acknowledge that. I wasn't saying that Hazard is. as good as Messi, or like as far as like overall player and career. What I was saying is that the way the 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 way I feel when I watch, or the way I would feel when I watched Hazard back in the past, there's very few players I think I can count on one hand. Initially, I just said there's only one other player that, I ever watched that I saw it and was like, that's just pure magic. And that's what I was saying. It was like I watched Messi, it's like what he is doing is just that's just pure magic. I can't explain it. Like he's from a different planet. It's just alien. Um, it has nothing to do with like a lot of times you watch sportsmen and you're in awe of just like their superhuman ability, like just how good they are from like again, we talk about Ronaldo. This is all obviously all subjective, but you talk about Ronaldo, or even if you talk about um like Tom Brady or something, right? Even you go to like American sports when it's like you watch stuff and it's like, man, it's precision, it's ruthlessness, it's like they've achieved a peak level of like things we were talking about earlier, like practice and nous and understanding, and even talent. But you can tell that it's something that they've just achieved like a freak of nature level, and you're just you're in awe of that, and they deserve greatness. And then there's other players where you watch them, and you're not really thinking about any of that, about like practice or hard work. You're not thinking about knowledge or experience. You're not thinking about anything except the fact that it's just magic. Like they were just born to be doing what they're doing.
Yeah,
And
definitely not hard work, especially in Hazard's case, because he was knocked a lot for getting fat when he went to Madrid. So it's definitely
that's
that's definitely not on his a point on his side.
Clay's words, not mine. But no, I mean Hazard, yeah. I mean even at Chelsea, he wasn't known for like there's that John Terry story of he would like I don't remember the exact story word for word, but basically he was like Hazard was just funny slash annoying slash whatever because they would be going into practice and they would be discussing I, I don't remember the team. Maybe it was like West Brom or something was the example. And it's like, oh, we have a game against West Brom, and they were trying to train and say this is what we should be doing and this tactics. And Hazard was like not listening and off doing his own thing. He just didn't care. And he was like, "What are you guys talking about? Like, it's just." He's like, "It's West Brom. Give me the ball. I'll do my thing." And he would, right. The weekend comes and he would do nothing, and then he'd get the ball, you know, dribble through everybody in the team and score 2 goals and win the game. But that was kind of his attitude. But my point is, the only way you can have an attitude like that is if you're just, like I said, there's just some people that you watch them and you think, man, they were just born to be doing this, right? Um, and they're just, you watch it, and it's just, that's wizardry, that's alien. And the only people that have really made me feel like that is what I was saying in the text is Messi and Hazard. But then after I said that, I was like, that's probably not true. There's probably some others. When you watch, I never watch these people live, but when you watch highlights of Ronaldinho or the original Ronaldo, I felt similar ways where that's I'm kind of I'm in awe. Maradona, similar thing. Which obviously these are all great players, so you would
Yeah.
expect to feel that way. Um, and then more recently, I mentioned Neymar. I think I'm slightly more on the fence, but he's close. And then a weird one that I mentioned was actually Pogba, which I was expecting you to or somebody to push back on in the group chat. I'd be like, "Oh, really, Pogba?" But honestly, there's when Pogba was at his peak and playing, there was just, and even now, if I go back and watch highlights, there's just things that he does, and not even just like dribbling and stuff like we're talking about with Messi or Hazard, but passing and control and things where it's just out of this world. I'm not talking about skills like when you see, you can see the F2 freestylers do crazy skills on YouTube. So it's not just about like pure skill. You can see, street footballers doing crazy stuff. Skills, I can't fully explain it. It's just you see something, even just a pass. Like I'm saying, some of Pogba's assists, you see it and you're like, that's just like that's a
No,
level that,
I feel you. I feel you on that one because no, the honestly the only person that or one of the people that I can relate to on that level was Thiago for Liverpool. I mean, even though
Liverpool.
he had a lot of injury issues and didn't really turn out as well as people had thought it would turn out, but when he was on the pitch, he was like my favorite. Well, he was always my favorite player on the team in terms of I just loved watching him because he was just so I don't know. He just
His
made
ability is
yeah.
there's just like his natural, just with the ball at his feet. It's just
Exactly.
unreal.
But that we're kind of digressing from the argument. I want to bring up uh one thing that, because this all stemmed, or this got rekindled again yesterday because uh, Curtis Jones went on an interview with Rio Ferdinand and said that he thought that as a footballer he would take Hazard, but on his team he would take Salah. Um,
This probably wasn't a recent interview, I'd assume.
no, it was
We
like within
just
the
saw it.
last.
We
No,
just
this was
saw it
within the
recently.
last week. I remember this popping
Oh,
up
it
on
was
on
recent?
my feed, and I was like, one,
Oh,
that's a
okay, okay,
pretty
okay.
stupid thing for Curtis to say because he's a teammate of Mo Salah. But
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's just being honest.
yeah, so he said that, and so rekindled the debate and all this stuff. But um, where does that make you like? Do you align with what Curtis said in that? Where like, okay, as a player individually, you would take Hazard, but if you were to be building a team for you, would you take Salah or would you take Hazard?
If Yeah, I do align with what Curtis said, and that just because of pure production, I'm picking Salah
Right.
in 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 a team. If I'm building a team to try to win the Prem, and I can only pick one of them, I'm I'm probably picking Salah. Um, if I'm deleting one of them from history, which is an awful thing to say, I'm deleting Salah, from football history. Um, which I don't know that means that I'm saying I don't know what that means. I don't know if I'm saying that in my head Hazard's a better player, but maybe it does mean that. Like, I don't know, what does that mean to you? If
Maybe that
I'm
means that
saying that,
he means more because of how he impacted you. Whereas if you were to, uh, but looking more objectively, I guess at it, like obviously Salah has produced more, and then obviously that leads more to winning on a team.
let me put it this way: if we were sending if we came across extraterrestrial life and we're sending representatives for just humanity, if everything humanity does, and it came to sport and it came to football, there's not a chance in hell I'm sending Salah over Hazard. I mean, Hazard's going 10,000 out of 10,000 times to represent the sport of football and to represent like
Homo
a, a,
sapiens.
a well, no, just to represent like peak in this specific field, what a peak human in this field looks like. I'm sending Hazard. Like in music, I'm sending whatever Beethoven. If it comes to
But why?
genius
Okay,
and
so
science,
then
I'm
why
sending
is that
Isaac
then?
Newton.
Why is that then? Why? Because if the argument would be if he were so good, why didn't he have as good of numbers?
Well, so it's not all about numbers, right? Like numbers is a big
No,
deal.
I think that I just think that a lot of the uh shine of Hazard is just shine, and that Salah might not be as he's like the Leatherman uh pocket knife you always keep in your truck. He's like the guy. He's always gonna be there. He's always gonna work well, and he's gonna be there when you need it. Whereas Hazard might be this new tool that you got that is so cool, but you never really use that much.
All right, we have to be careful here of not getting too disrespectful of Hazard because Hazard put up numbers in the Prem. He might not be able to. His best numbers might not be as good as Salah's best numbers, but he wasn't. He was the best player in the Prem. He wasn't just doing
No,
flips
that's
and tricks
fair.
and then not having any end product.
That's fair. But I think for this year, especially, Salah has been the best player in the Prem.
No, no, 100%. I'm saying let's not get too carried away where we're making it seem like Hazard didn't have any end product. Like he did have end product. He just didn't have as much end product as Salah has shown
Well,
at his
so
peak.
looking at the numbers, Hazard's best year was his
Mm,
final year at Chelsea. He
mm.
had 16 goals, 15 assists, and uh, Salah has 18 goals, 13 assists, and already this year, and we're
Yeah,
only
which I
21
mean,
games
Salah's
into
having
the
a
season.
pretty ridiculous season. Yeah.
Right. He is, and that's what I'm saying is that like it's just like it's for me it's hard for you. I understand like the touchy feely part about how he's so how Hazard was gifted and special, and he did produce. But
And he was being compared to Messi back in the day. Like
fair,
he was one
yeah.
of the only players in the world that was like, I'm not saying he was ever going to win the Ballon d'Or over Messi, but people are like, man, like compare this level of talent to Messi. No one's ever said that about Salah, but continue.
Well, I think also part of that is because for half, I mean, Messi was on the decline for half of his prime.
Yeah, but still.
What do you mean still? It's less of a direct comparison when they're not both performing at the same level at the same time.
But Messi was better than Salah for still the first couple years of Salah's prime,
Yeah.
first few years of
And
Salah's
Messi was
prime. So it's
also
not
better
like,
than Hazard.
yeah, exactly. And Hazard was being compared to him. Salah wasn't being compared to him because he just doesn't have that same. He's not Messi.
Neither of them are
You
Messi. If the Messi
no,
is the
neither of them
bar,
are
then both
Messi.
of them are
Yeah,
average.
but you get what I'm saying. Salah in his prime was being, or Salah in his prime, Hazard in his prime was being compared to Messi,
No, I
kind
just,
of.
I'm saying I don't think that's a fair statement in favor of Hazard because, like I said, it's not as easy of a comparison to draw anymore because Messi has been playing in France and then in the
That's no,
US.
that's why I'm saying Messi was still producing at a very high level for the first few years of Salah's prime. So it is a fair comparison. Now he's playing in France and
Yeah, but I would say
whatever.
arguably, I mean,
He still won a Ballon d'Or while Salah was while Salah
that's
was
no, yeah,
playing in his
he
prime.
did, but that's what I'm saying is
Multiple.
that
No, I
but a lot
disagree.
of Salah's argument on his side is the consistency of production and stuff because he doesn't have the shine and everything like that. He scores goals, he gets assists now for 8 straight years, right? And
Yeah.
and so a lot of his argument hadn't been built until the last few years, in which time Messi moved to lesser leagues and hasn't been as good.
Yeah, but I mean, I can give it to you in writing that he still wouldn't be compared to Messi because at the end of the day, the comparison between the reason Hazard was being compared to Messi was not because of production. As you said, his best season was 16 goals, 15 assists. Messi scored 93 goals in a calendar year, right? Like it's not, he wasn't being compared to Messi because of production. He was being compared to Messi just because of pure footballing ability
One other thing that
on the pitch.
one other thing that I didn't like that you said yesterday was that you were like, make the case for Salah without production, without mentioning his stats. So I tried
Well,
to.
there's context to that, but continue.
I tried to, and then I said make the case for Hazard without referencing his skills or how he made you feel, his vibes. I think that's a silly like that's a silly point to try to make, I guess. Like I think from my understanding of what you're saying, you were basically saying that without his stats, Salah doesn't have as much of an argument, right?
No, that's not what I was saying. That's what I'm saying. There was context to me asking you that question. The point that you made is valid, right? Where you were like, okay, the debate basically comes down to Salah's fans are going to say, or Hazard's fans are going to say, well, he's just clearly more talented, right? And Salah's fans are going to say, well, he's just at the end of the day, football is a game about winning the game, scoring goals and getting assists and winning games. And Salah just is way better at that, right? And so what's the phrase?
Give and take.
Six in one hand, half a dozen in the other. Not giving. But yeah, similar vibe. So that point is 100% valid. What I thought was that you were not getting when me and Curtis and all these people are talking about, oh, here is why we're taking Hazard. Um, but Salah's, we would still pick, or here's why we're so in off Hazard, but we're still picking Salah in our team. I didn't think you were getting it. Because you kept going back to production, and I'm like, production isn't what we're talking about. Like we're admitting that Salah has way better production. We're just trying to tell you how, as far as pure talent, and you were saying things like, well, that's not relevant because blah, 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 blah. Because Salah has put himself in a different stratosphere. Salah has put himself in a different stratosphere when it comes to production than Hazard, if that makes sense. He hasn't put himself in a different stratosphere because he has shown more talent than Hazard.
I
So
see what you're saying, but like
the only reason I said that
that's not
question
what the
was not
question. That's
because
not what the original debate is like stemming from. It's not like who is more talented, Salah or Hazard. Is like it was like who is better or who would you take, in their prime or that type of thing. Where it's kind of a vague question as to the parameters, I guess, the of the debate, right? Which is basically why, for me, and let me admit, I am being biased here, but I would take Salah because I would take him on my team, right? And other people, including you, for other people, including you, it depends on the context of the question, I guess.
like aliens, for example, that's a good
Yeah,
context.
I
If
guess.
we were
Yeah, yeah, but aliens. Okay, but what if the aliens said you have to beat us in a game in order for us not to blow up Earth? Then who do you send?
Salah.
All right, and I'll take it.
So, but here's the thing: like I am, I am at this point since we're getting close to the end. I'm looking at the timer. We have like 6 minutes left. Obviously, I've been a lot of what I've said is true and how I really feel. There's also, an aspect of me, playing devil's advocate and playing the other side. I will say at this point, why, when people like me or anyone else is making the case for Hazard, right? And then there's the case for Salah, and it's just pure production. Why is just being able to produce not viewed as part of football talent? Like it is part of football talent, but it's not viewed the same way as just like clear natural talent, right?
So I
Like
think
when you
it's
just see
because of
someone,
like uh when you look at compilations of best moments or best plays in football history, it's like an overwhelming majority of them are going to be starting with some sort of dribbling move. And that's what, if you reference, okay, this guy is so talented at football, you're really meaning that he was really, really good at dribbling, right?
I don't know that I fully agree with that. I think dribbling is maybe one of the most obvious ways to
Yeah, okay, that's
show
that's,
just
that's
like
kind of what I
natural
meant. Yeah.
talent.
Dribbling is
But
like the most obvious way to show natural talent.
yeah, but I don't think like passing and some absolute technicians with like their touches. Like you think about like Mahrez with
Yeah,
his like that's those are other moments of magic when we're
that is
talking about
true.
magic.
Yeah.
There's other things. It's not just dribbling. It's like I said, there's just like different things that people do with the ball at their feet that like we all look at and we're like, that's just talent. But for some reason, we see someone scoring at a ridiculously high rate for a ridiculously consistent period. And we say that, people like me say, that's a great player, but we're not necessarily equating with the same level of talent. Why? That I'm not actually asking you. It's a rhetorical question. My point is, I get what you're saying. Like, why shouldn't that be part of talent? It should be. It logically is hard to defend that. It is like you said. It's kind of like a vibe. So I get the other side of it, but it's the reason why if you had, I'm trying to like who's a good example of a striker. Um, I can't think of any. I'm blanking off the top of my head, but just like a really ruthless striker. I mean, people say it about Holland,
Yeah.
but I disagree. But people were saying about Holland all the time, oh, he's just a tap and merchant, this, that, and the other. I mean, it doesn't. That's part of football. It should be evaluated as football talent. For some reason, it's just hard to see it the same way as you know, like it's hard to see production as the same as just like natural talent when
Yeah,
you're with your
it
touch,
is really
with your
interesting,
passes, with your dribbling, with your whatever, anything with the ball at your feet.
especially because like in a 90-minute football game, or creating scoring a goal is the most, I guess, uh shiny thing you could do during the game. But when
Yeah,
you zoom out to the macro level, that seems to get discounted a little bit. Um, and
yeah,
it just becomes
and
another number on the page.
yeah, and why? Like if I'm saying that I would pick Salah in a team over Hazard to win me the Premier League, then how can I say that I'm not sure that Salah is the better player, right? Like I
Right.
get that it doesn't make sense. But at the end of the day, it's just if an alien tells me send me your the greatest your best person at all these categories, music, football, whatever, like I'm sending Hazard as my representative. I just can't explain why. I just think he's just better. I just think he's better. And I'm acknowledging all these things of why it doesn't make sense. Um,
Which is why
so I'm
then,
acknowledging
which is why then they proceed to blow up the Earth. Like you sent the wrong guy.
No,
You
they
sent the
wouldn't.
wrong
That's what
guy.
I truly believe that if you sent one set of aliens Hazard and one set of aliens Salah, and then you swapped them and showed them each other, the aliens who got Salah would be very angry that they got Salah at the first. They're like, man, you sent us this when that was the level of talent that you could have sent us. And I don't know if that's making any sense to you.
No, I understand what you're
Um,
saying. It's like he'll wow you, but
he's just better.
but then I
He's
also
just
said the
better. He's
counterpoint. I'm
just
like,
better.
okay, what if you had to win a game versus them, and you said you'd take Salah? So there is
I
some
would,
sort
yeah.
of discontinuity with the, and you're not alone with the amount of people that align with your feelings about Hazard and stuff. But I also will say
I,
I'm not alone with my feelings about how Salah and
no, you're not. And I will say, as someone who's always touting logic and claims that things should make logical sense, I think this is one of my opinions or feelings that I'm least able to back up with pure, unadulterated logic. When normally I would be against such an argument. Um, that being said, I think that this was a pretty productive debate.
I do think so too.
I
I,
think
I
we've,
think that we both ended up being more moderate than we seem to be over text. I think a lot of it is because of the fact that we do get egged on, and because like we both want to continue the debate, and like that leads us to both get further entrenched in our whatever side we've decided to plant our flag on. But this was
yeah, if we
productive. It was
maybe
good.
we'll leak our text if we get 10,000 likes on this video,
Yeah,
we'll leak our fiery text
there's a
debates
lot. There's a lot of them. So
in a big
hit the like button.
compilation.
So all right, thank you guys for watching.
Bye.
See ya.